Hello, everybody. Hello. All right, thank y'all very much. Welcome to the July 27th Special Call Village Council meeting. Marnie, can you call us to order, please? Or do the roll call, please.
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Anna Richards.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
And Mayor Don Horton.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, Dr. Coppola, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yes, sir. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good deal. Well, we've got a house full of people, so why don't we go on and start off with public comment. Marnie, is there any public comment?
Mayor, before you start that, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could we just take a minute? We lost a very good patriarch.
Sir,
I just wanted to recognize Van Cadenhead's passing for those that didn't know. And I thought we could just take a minute and recognize him because he was here for every single council meeting.
He was here for every meeting. He sure was. And so,
yes,
yeah.
thank you.
Van Cadenhead passed away about a week ago, I guess it was. And although he moved, he was always a big part of this community and a big part of all of our council meetings. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Marnie, are there any public comments?
Yes, sir. We'll start with Andy Newman.
Thank you, Marnie.
Welcome, Andy.
Good afternoon. Great to be here. Andy Newman, 193 El Capitan Drive. Just wanted to talk about something a little bit different. It's not really baseball. But I want to talk about sargassum. And the sargassum assault along the village shorelines this year has been unprecedented. It's affecting residents' quality of life, everybody in this room, and not just in Alamorada, all up and down the Keys. And I mean that quite literally. As sargassum decomposes, it releases hydrogen sulfide into the air, creating that familiar odor that we all hate of rotten eggs, sometimes even sewage. That gas can pose a health threat and risk for people with compromised immune systems and also may initiate respiratory problems for others. As a Lower Matecumbe resident, living across the highway opposite Sea Oats Beach, my wife and I and our neighbors have endured this overwhelming odor throughout the summer. There have been many days when spending time outdoors has been simply impossible. And during times with southeasterly winds, the odor actually permeates the walls within our residence. 3 weeks ago, I contacted Councilwoman Gillis to discuss the issue. After listening to my concerns, she suggested that I call the village manager. And I did, and had a very productive conversation with Ron. I connected Ron with Dr. Brian LaPointe. He's a Lower Keys resident and a research professor at Florida Atlantic University Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute. He's one of the nation's leading experts on sargassum. I appreciate that Ron has taken this issue seriously. He's spoken to Dr. LaPointe several times, and I understand that there's a potential for a future project that might actually be here in Alamorada. My primary reason for speaking today is I want to reinforce the seriousness of this issue. Sargassum is more than an inconvenience. It's a public health concern, major public health concern, a quality of life issue for, again, everybody in this room, including our youngsters here. Okay, and it's a threat to the village's economy and tourism-based identity. I encourage council and staff to make addressing this challenge one of the village's highest priorities and to pursue both short-term and long-term solutions, and very much appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay,
Marnie?
next up is Alina Davis.
Welcome, Alina.
Good afternoon, Alina Davis, Village of Islamorada resident. I just want to reiterate something that happened during the last council meeting. We were talking about health benefits and the budget coming up, And Don asked, I believe he asked the village manager, Ron Saunders, to direct staff to get additional estimates for employee health insurance, because there was only one bid, if I remember correctly. So with budget season coming up, which is right around the corner, it's only a week away, right? I'm wondering, has that been done? Have there been additional estimates for employee health or for anything else that we need to consider in the budget? Thanks.
Thank you, Alina.
Next up is Joe Wishmeyer.
It's Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. Mr. Mayor and Council, first I would like to comment on a couple things. One, the first one being the scarified lot behind CVS. It's a tragedy as to how that happened. It's not the first time it's happened. Even the representative of the owners said, we need to come up with better penalties or fines other than just like a slap on the wrist. Instead of following up with any of that and saying something like, well, maybe you can't get a permit, or maybe you can't build until we get this taken care of. Instead, what you did was reward them by giving them a long dock that admittedly is going to be high enough that it won't affect some of the coral there. I remember previous councils had turned down people just putting a T-dock on the end of their dock because there was turtle grass. I think that was a shame and a disgrace, and we ought to look into better ways to handle that. Second was the school board meeting that was held at 1:30 in the afternoon, so a lot of people couldn't attend, including myself. And then we didn't get a chance to do public comment and all because it was only for those people who actually showed up. Repeatedly, you kept saying over and over, yes, we're going to have public comment, we're going to make sure that everybody gets a say, and that, of course, didn't happen. We're kind of doing the same thing now with the budget hearings. We got 3 days in a row of budget hearings starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, people at work can't get here for that. How are we going to digest a budget for 3 days in a row when y'all been probably working on it for a long time? We had no committees this year. Remember last year we had a committee and they came up with some great ideas. So I think we're just rushing into this budget thing way too much, and I think that you ought to give us more consideration for the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Next is Elizabeth Jolin.
I'm sorry, who?
Elizabeth.
Oh, Elizabeth Jolin. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your dedicated service. I wanted to thank you for having the meeting tonight and wading through the difficulties of the baseball situation. I hope that during the comment that you all will, the conversation you'll be having, you'll address why we've chosen to piecemeal the project. So tonight we understand that you've come to some agreement with the school board about one element of the project, but the buildings and the remainder of the discussion is yet to come. And I hope we can move forward with that in a very, as much as I hate the word, transparent and organized way, so that the community can be right there with all of those discussions, and we can proceed efficiently and with fairness to not only the residents, but of course the kids who want to play on that field. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
No one else has signed up for general public comment.
So this is general public comment. Is there anybody else who would like to have it get up and talk about anything? Okay, good deal. For that, public comment is closed. Ron, would you like to open up the discussion on this ball field licensing agreement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you know, we've been working on this for years. There's been discussions. When I came in as manager in April of 2025, over a year ago, one of my first days was started on this. We've been going back and forth. We've had a citizens task force meetings, we've had Parks and Recreation Committee meetings, numerous council meetings, a lot of public input. We've had back and forth with the school board individually, with the superintendent. We had a joint meeting last week, an historic one, that we had the school board and the village council there, and we went through item by item and came up with a tentative agreement. So we are having a special call meeting tonight. The school board is meeting tomorrow at, I believe, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in Key West. They'll be taking up the identical agreement. Just as a legislative bill, you have to pass identical agreements. If you change one word, there's no agreement. So they're taking up the identical one that we're taking up tonight. They'll be taken up tomorrow. And if there's no changes and both bodies agree, then we have an agreement. In response to one of the questions, it was my recommendation that we only move forward on the fence, the dugouts, the batting cages in the field, because there's too many questions about buildings. We've already, with your agreement, eliminated one of the two buildings originally proposed. The second building, there were some questions about the location of it and the format of it, and rather than trying to drag that out, we wanted to reach agreement on the field so it could be done before next season. And so we have gotten a timetable from the school district that said if we the council and if we the village and if we the school board come to an agreement, they think that comfortable they will be able to complete the field and the fencing and the dugouts prior to season starting. So that's kind of where we are now. And in response to some questions, the maintenance cost, Mr. LaFear, I've asked for confirmation. The $48,000 was what we've been paying traditionally, and I have a breakout if somebody wanted it. He mentioned $6,000 if the artificial turf is approved. So that was the breakouts that he mentioned, and he's confirmed those numbers. So there'll be a great reduction in cost because obviously a turf field is much less expensive to maintain than grass field, no water, no pesticides, mowing, et cetera. As far as other costs, the cost being borne by the school district, we've had some questions today, emails about what would not be covered, and the school district has basically taken on most of those costs, and we'll try to disclose any other costs as we go along, but to our mind, there's not a great deal of cost to the village. The school district, as the tenant, will be picking up the cost of the improvements. So with that, I'll leave it to the discussion by the council.
Steve, anything you want to talk about that may have arisen since our meeting with the school board that you've got some questions or comments about?
No, I think we did a good job of hammering out our differences and coming to some conclusions. I think Ron touched on many of the things that we're hearing around town about certain costs to the village, which are in fact minimal, if not less than what we were experiencing before. And I think that there's no obligation to approve any buildings right now. We're just really working on the field and the fence and then the dugouts, I believe. So that's going to be something that's going to be coming forward, and I think that process should go hopefully very smoothly because of the understanding that hopefully we can reach tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Deb?
No, I just really appreciate the school board meeting with us or allowing us to meet with them, whichever the proper phrase is. I think we made a lot of headway in coming to terms with both sides, and I think both sides gave in on things to make it work for both of us. So I just really appreciate it.
Thank you, Deb. Anna? Welcome back.
Thanks. No, I'm going to go along with everybody else on that, and that I think it was great that we all got to meet and we worked it out amongst ourselves to come to an agreement. There was give and take on both sides, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is the safety of their kids and getting this field right. I've been begging for this to be done for over 10 years now. I mean, my own kids have been hurt on that field. I think your kid's been hurt on that field. I mean, it's deplorable position, and it needs to be fixed. So I'm just glad that we've finally getting somewhere and we can get this done.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
I think I'm going to wait for public comment on this subject before I weigh in, so.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all, and of course, we met at a school board meeting, which was scheduled for this specific thing, which we've been trying to do for over a year, and I know that the previous council struggled with with the improvements and what was going to happen there. Again, I was told a long time ago, if everybody doesn't walk away with being 100% satisfied, you've probably come to a good agreement, and I think that's probably where we're at this point. I'm thankful that we've moved it along this far. So why don't we just go on and open up this particular topic then to some public comment and see what the folks out there in our audience might want to talk. Yes, John.
Do you want me to read the title for the
Yes,
resolution
if you
before
would,
we do
please.
that? Our only tab is resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, approving a baseball field license agreement with the School Board of Monroe County, Florida, authorizing the village manager to execute the amended interlocal agreement and baseball field license agreement, providing for implementation, corrections, and an effective date.
Thank you very much, John. So with that, let's open this up to public comment that's specifically about this ball field and licensing agreement. And Marnie, is there anyone signed up to speak about this?
Yes, sir, there are.
Thank you.
We'll start with Captain Ed Davison.
For the record, I am Captain Davison, Chairman of the IRS 501c3, Florida Key Citizens Coalition, a former four-year Keys-wide elected member of the school board, and a residential property owner and taxpayer in Islamorada. It's not personal, I'm just making the record, Mr. Attorney. School System Facilities Director Pat LaFear has publicly admitted to meeting out of the sunshine for years with his 14-member Founders Park baseball field design team. Pursuant to my Freedom of Information documents request, only 3 sets of minutes were ever produced for all that time. And I remind you, they hired, without notifying Islamorada, 2 design-build contractors in a row over a 3.5-year period without even notifying us that they'd done it. No evidence was ever provided that any of these meetings were ever publicly noticed and officially open to the participation by residents of Islamorada. This is about process that went wrong and is likely to go wrong again when they want the buildings. Meanwhile, emails have recently surfaced documenting that Village Manager Ron Saunders has partnered with Ceremonial Village Mayor Don Horton to cut what is in major respects, an out-of-the-sunshine deal with the school board that dramatically contradicts and extensively overrules the original baseball field license wording adopted twice by this council, 5-0-4-0 with energetic Islamorada Council debate and extensive public input. Yet in his 27 April 26 speech to the Islamorada Parks and Recs Committee, Saunders revealed that in attempting to bypass the impasse consequences of the school board's repeated refusal since January to sign the village's ball field license wording, he'd been privately carrying votable issue conversations in between individual school board members and conversations and vote polling which were fundamentally contradictory to the official village permit wording and which the Florida Sunshine Law would seem to specifically prohibit. Yet at the recent 12 May council meeting and 3 council meetings at which nothing was ever mentioned about that this was going on, some such sunshine contradictions were repeatedly described, with village officials adamantly claiming they could legitimately interact with school board officials outside of public venues, as though themselves were private citizens, when it would seem, in fact, that once elected and appointed to public office, they remain as public officials bound by the Sunshine Law, 24/7, 365. The 12 May council meeting, public comment starts at 2:35:13, and at 2:49, council member Don Horton states that he lobbies school board members, quote, as a private individual, unquote, despite those prior official permit wording approval votes, which he had already publicly cast, repeatedly re-endorsed, and assured the public during his re-election campaign that he would rigorously defend, while he and the village manager were, in fact, at the same time, actively promising school board officials that his never publicly voted Addendum 1 would repeal most of the original safeguards. During the 4 years I was myself elected Keys-wide to the school board, I had many professional briefings on the applicable restrictions of the Florida government in the Sunshine Law. Here are some possibly relevant quotes from the Florida Attorney General's handbook. First, Florida Supreme Court Town of Palm Beach versus Gradison, jot that one down, Mr. Attorney, quote, "The Sunshine Law is to be construed so as to frustrate all evasive devices." That's pretty damn clear. But all the lawyers in this room should understand, and those watching on TV, a few from as far away as Tallahassee and Washington, D.C., I might add, informationally. In the case, Paris versus State, quote, "is a warning about conducting private meetings through the use of surrogates such as friends, aides, relatives, and other governmental officials," unquote, which is Ron Saunders' often publicly avowed specialty as everybody's favorite lunch buddy. But it lacks sunshine, just as Ron's often spouted mantra that he knows how to count to 3 ignores his fundamental legal obligation to count all the way to 5, so that counselors number 4 and 5 get to speak publicly and on the record to their constituents. And the taxpaying voters get to speak publicly to all 5 counselors in return, like now. This never happened with the Saunders-Horton Addendum 1 that you're about to adopt tonight. Although it was conveyed to the school board as though it had been voted and was binding already on the council and the taxpayers, which it wasn't and it isn't.
Thank you, Capman.
You bet.
Marnie, who's our next speaker?
Next up is Tony Hammond.
Tony, welcome.
Thank you very much. Tony Hammond, 246 Jasmine Street. As most of you know, I've worn a lot of hats over the years. I've been a marine biology teacher at Coral Shores, baseball coach at Coral Shores in 1972, school principal for most of my life, again, baseball coach throughout almost 50 years, and then back at Coral Shores as a baseball coach, and currently one of the baseball coaches at Coral Shores. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is another hat that I have to wear that's very important. That is the hat of a pastor. I don't have anything new to add to this tonight, but since our meeting with the school board last week, I just want to listen to my schedule. I've conducted 2 memorial services, pulled along the side a friend from our community who lost his father, 2 brothers who just lost their sister, who was a former teacher of mine, spent hours on the phone trying to keep a marriage together of a couple that are very, very close to me. And I spoke yesterday at church. And I tell you all this because dealing with things like I've dealt with over the last week since our school board meeting gives you a new perspective of the great debate over the baseball field that we're having right now. It makes me want to say, come on, folks. It's a baseball field, for crying out loud. That's all it is. Let's not spend any more time on this thing. Let's vote and get this done so that the teams will have a field to play on next year. And, guys, thank you for coming. And I look forward to being around when all of you are playing for Coral Shores High School and being a part of the coaching staff and watching you guys raise up and play ball as well. And thank you. And hopefully after tonight, we will actually have a great field to play on. So thank you for being here tonight. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Can y'all do me a favor? Can y'all do me a favor? If you agree with somebody, will you just wave your hands up in the sky and not clap, and we can move this meeting along? But I think that's probably the nice way to do it, is everybody just show their sign of approval this way, and maybe we can get through this. So, Marnie, who's next?
Next up is Rich Russell.
Quiet, please. Coach Russell. Where's the jacket? Come on.
By the way, Rich Russell, and I'm a lifelong resident of Alamorada. I looked around the room and saw that I was the only idiot with a jacket and decided that's probably...
It looks so good on you.
Yeah, and the sweat looks so bad. Mayor Horton, Vice Mayor Mahoney, and distinguished members of the council. During the first 18 days of July, my wife and I were at our cottage in Alaska, and we spent each evening watching the Hallmark's Christmas in July series. So, yeah, thank you. I know some of you must be saying, get a life, you know. You're probably right. But borrowing from Hallmark, I'd like to title my remarks tonight, Thanksgiving in July. Please allow me to share a few things, of the many things I'm thankful for on this, what I believe to be will be a historic night. To begin with, I want to thank my pastor, it's a good night for pastors, Dr. Tim Crutcher, for yesterday, of all days, preaching on Matthew 5:44. And for those that don't know that scripture, it says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. In all candor, that sermon made me give up about a third of my talking points. So that's probably a good thing. You can be thankful for that. I'm thankful for Mayor Horton's leadership in proposing the unprecedented joint workshop between the Village of Islamorada Council and the Monroe County School Board. I'm thankful for the school board's willingness to participate, and especially for board member Benny Kahn's strong advocacy for the workshop, that workshop concept that, again, Mayor, you originated. I'm thankful for every member of the governing bodies who approached that workshop with an open mind, a spirit of cooperation, and I think a sincere commitment to resolving the differences. I'm thankful, and she's here tonight, for School Board Chair, I'm sorry, I'm skipping over. I'm thankful for School Board Chair John Dick and Mayor Horton, who conducted a workshop with patience and professionalism, ensuring that every question was heard and every concern was thoroughly and respectfully addressed. Mr. Mayor, I especially appreciate the fact that you went around the 5-member council a second time, making certain that every member had an opportunity to ask questions, express concerns, and be fully heard. Now, as I started to jump to, I want to thank School Board District 5 member Dr. Sue Watansky for her preparation, for her command of the details, and her clear explanations. Just reflects the thoroughness and professionalism she consistently brings to her public service. I want to thank Vice Mayor Mahoney, who, while serving as mayor, encouraged the creation of an ad hoc committee that helped develop proposed language for our attorneys to consider, but most importantly, I think, established the expectation that the turf that was going on this field would be selected using as criteria the safest possible playing surface while protecting our sensitive environment. I'm thankful for Village Manager Ron Saunders, who took the helm after years of limited progress and listened and processed all perspectives, and then charted a course that has brought us to this important evening. I'm thankful to the Monroe County School Board for committing over $4 million, or an estimated $4 million, for the cost of this state-of-the-art facility, an investment that will not only benefit Coral Shores baseball, but also numerous other youth programs and our entire community for the years to come. Finally, Council, I am deeply grateful for each and every one of you for enduring your part of this 4-year challenge. This project's been much more about baseball. It's much more about a playing field. It's about investing in our children and providing field options for countless causes, and I think strengthening the community that we all love. Tonight, we can close the chapter on 4 difficult years and begin a new chapter, one that's filled with opportunity, with pride, and with promise. I thank you in advance for making that possible.
Thank you, Coach. Thank y'all. No. Let's remember, we're just going to raise our hands. That's the way to do it. That's a good way. Thank y'all. Marnie, who's next?
Alina Davis.
Alina. Welcome, Alina.
Thank you. Alina Davis, Village of Islamorada resident. I believe that Ron just said that the total costs are not yet detailed. Would that be correct? If so, I would like to remind all of you who sit on Village Council that you represent the residents and the voters of Islamorada. Please make sure that you have all the answers to your questions regarding costs and that there are no surprises in the license agreement that will financially impact the taxpayers of Islamorada. Concerning the license agreement, and the building application, I looked at it, and the site plan says that the bleachers now accommodate 190 seats with a proposed 300 seats. It also includes the building that is not going to be included. I thought that the site plan and the building permit should coincide, right? That's what I believe that the planning manager, that's what they expect from people like me. So the civil engineering plans also include future buildings, and the permit states only field, fencing, and bullpen. One of the other items under the terms, I believe that it should be the responsibility of the school board to renew the license agreement. Why should there be an automatic renewal? Isn't it always the tenant who requests an extension of a lease? I thought Steve's dad had a good idea at the workshop. He said that the amortization schedule should be brought back just in case something unforeseen happens. You know, we don't know what's going to happen down the road. We're looking at a 20-year agreement with 2 automatic 10-year renewals, which is 40 years. And yet that field is probably going to last maybe 8 to 12 years, something like that. The new ADA playground is going to need shade for the kids to be able to use it. Is there any thought to what might it take to for the artificial turf to cool it off during the hot summer months? That's maybe a concern to some, but, you know, obviously the baseball team plays during the winter, so it's okay for them. But what about the rest of the year when it's the Village of Islamorada children who are using it, and Little League and things like that? Thank you.
Thank you, Elena.
Okay, next up is Sue Miller.
Sue Miller, representing the Islamorada Community Alliance. It is certainly great to see so many baseball fans here, especially the players and of today and tomorrow. Looks like we have a great group of teams that'll be on our field for years to come. Sports are really important for our young people. They teach about hard work, the importance of practice and workouts, and how to be a leader. They even experience how to lose as well as how to win. Here tonight, we will observe firsthand the importance of participation in the government process, a government meant to look out for its citizens, young and old. The council will demonstrate how they listen to us and why it's important for the baseball fans, all of you, to show up and speak up. When have we ever seen a crowd like this? The 5 people up front will be voting, but all of us will help them decide whether to vote yes or no, or yes with modifications. The kids all will be making a difference on the field next year, being the best they can possibly be. We in this room are here to make a difference by being a part of a government process. I had boys that played baseball at Coral Shores 30 years ago, and now a grandson on the Coral Shores team. It makes a difference in the life of a kid to be part of a program like Coral Shores has. Today, we all are here to cheer the council on and hope that you realize the significance of today's vote. Consider every detail. This isn't just a decision that will impact the ball players in the room and all of the fans that are here pulling for a better field. This is a 40-year deal. Some of the kids playing on that field now may have children and grandchildren on the Coral Shores baseball team before the 40 years is over. Every contract detail is critical. Yesterday, I was told by Coach Russell, who coached my sons many years ago, that we, the residents of Alamorada, should trust the baseball experts that have spent the last 5 years designing the field. I disagree. He left out too many experts. The fans know well about the horrid bleachers we have endured for years. The experts that honestly argue that green grass is better. The grandmas and others who have serious problems with the lack of ADA compliance. This grandma, who needs help just to get into the bleachers and to get back out, has to sit in bleachers on the home field side where I can't see my grandson who plays in left field because of the obstructions. I think we need to think about more than just what's on the field. We in this room know about other design features that need to be incorporated. Yes, there may be experts that did the design, but more public participation from day one could save on and actually create a better result for a 40-year project, one that everyone feels a part of. Baseball experts with no financial expertise could add to school and village costs that prohibit these young people that are in this room today from being as lucky as I am to see both their children and their grandchildren experiencing the joy of baseball games for Coral Shores High School. Let's make sure we don't price future generations of ball players out of the Keys. Let's have more public participation from day one, more collaboration, more people watching over our baseball field. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, next up is Jamie Engel.
Welcome, Jamie. Boy, that's hard to get used to, isn't it? It works, though.
You're just testing the deodorant on everybody. That's all.
Exactly right. Thank you, Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Engel, Plantation Key. I recognize that both the village and the school board had to compromise to reach this agreement. One of the village's biggest gains is the revised insurance provision. Removing the original requirement for separate village property coverage could save taxpayers more than $60,000 annually, or over $1.2 million during the initial 20-year term. However, we still need accurate accounting of the village's ongoing expenses. We've been told that the village's 7-month maintenance expense will decrease from approximately $48,000 to $6,000 per year. I've requested the supporting breakdown for more than 2 weeks, and I have no response. We also need to know whether adding these improvements to the village's existing insurance program will increase our current premiums. These figures are necessary for the upcoming budget discussions. Any additional improvements, activities, or projects involving the baseball field or surrounding areas of Founders Park should begin with a new public process, including proper notice, public workshops, community participation, and council discussion, before plans are developed or commitments are made. A future proposal should not begin with a project the school board has already designed and then ask the village and the residents to accept it after the fact. Starting with the public would help prevent a repeat of this lengthy and very difficult process we have experienced over the past year and a half. Had public participation and council discussion occurred before major decisions were made, much of this disagreement and frustration could have been avoided. Finally, when residents research issues, write emails, ask questions, and show up at meetings, it should never be dismissed as what Councilwoman Gillis referred to last week at the school board meeting as, quote, nitpicking, end quote. Those of us who have been actively involved in this issue, as well as others, are unpaid, unelected community members volunteering our personal time because we care about this village and how public money is spent. Respectful public participation helps identify problems, improve agreements, and produce better decisions. It should be welcomed even when the questions are difficult. It'll be wonderful to see the Coral Shores baseball team out on that field next year, and the entire Village of Islamorada community should be there to celebrate that. Let's celebrate this project, complete it responsibly, and bring this same commitment to all of our student athletes. Most importantly, let's carry forward what we've learned from this process. Working together from the beginning will help us avoid difficulties we all are having and have had experience with, and lead to better decisions, stronger participation, and best possible results for our community.
Thank you, Jamie.
And next up is Joe Wishmeyer.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. First, I would like to start out by saying I don't think there's anybody in this community who is trying to keep a workable field for our athletes. That is number one priority. The other thing is, all we're trying to do is to make sure that the village and the residents who are paying for a lot of this get a fair deal. You know, I hear a lot of talk about maintenance. Maintenance costs, who keeps track of that? I look at what happened with the field in the past. We even had a council member said her son got hurt on the field. I've heard in the past there were teams that refused to play on our field. That's when the school board was supposed to be maintaining it and keeping it up to snuff for our players. Does that give us concern about if they're going to do it in the future? I believe so. My other question is, all the other baseball fields, everybody here pays school taxes, and it goes into the county. So all their fields are all completely taken care of and paid for by the school taxes. We pay school taxes too. Alas, but we also pay village taxes. So now, not only are we paying to maintain the field with the school board, but now we have to pay to maintain as a village? That just, to me, does not make any sense whatsoever, and I think you ought to come up with a better agreement for that, since how we are giving them a multi-million-dollar piece of property to use for their baseball field, which over all the years they have not been able to come up with on their own. Next, I want to talk about some insurance concerns. My wife, who's a teacher, does go to some of the games and has had problems with the bleachers, especially sitting in the back, where if you lean back, you can fall right off the back of the bleachers and nobody's going to think twice. Whose insurance is going to take care of that? Is that going to fall upon the village to maintain and to pay for such accidents that should have been taken care of by the school board? And I see that our bleachers are not even in consideration for this first phase. I think that you ought to add those bleachers and make sure that they are up to snuff and ADA appliant, if nothing else, at least from a safety concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, and next up is Cheryl Culberson.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Cheryl Culberson, Venetian Shores. Congratulations on picking hen's teeth. It's the first pile of hen's teeth I've ever seen for actually getting the school board to meet with you. That was probably the first cold day in hell, because the school board doesn't meet with anybody, if you remember correctly. It only took you a year and a half to get there. You accomplished some things. There were some things that I would suggest you revisit. I'll let you do it privately, but I would not have taken out the amortization schedule. In 6 years, none of you will be in those seats. If something comes up, there is an opportunity, as the two lawyers can tell you, along with the other lawyers in this room, that amortization schedule may save you on something that may be there. Never give yourself take out a means of getting out of something. I would remind everybody in the room that the school board was supposed to be maintaining this field for the last 20 years. They have been a very bad tenant. I want you to keep in mind that you are releasing property to someone who has failed to perform for 20 years. Mr. Mankiewicz, Coach Mankiewicz can speak to that, as can everybody else in here that's been on that field. That field was never prepared properly, and it has not been maintained. It's going to be up to each and every one of you, particularly those of you that are teachers, coaches, parents, and have kids playing on that field. If it's not right, you need to come to somebody, and I would designate the village manager, members of the council, let them know it's not proper. they are supposed to be maintaining. We've already seen how they do not maintain things, and that includes the other fields in Marathon and Key West, which I made a little road trip to go visit. They are poorly maintained. I would also point out to you that Ron Saunders and I have been having multiple discussions, Sue, to bring in other bleachers. We have found somebody that can make ADA-compliant bleachers. They can be the portable kind, because you do not want to get into what that second phase is, if they still haven't modified, which will be that mausoleum-like building for your ashes to sit in behind home plate. That's where they want to try to put things. You don't need that. You need bleachers that can stabilize, be there, but they make them with ramps, wheelchair accessibility, handrails, steps, and oh wait, by the way, backs on the seats, like adults should have. You can do all of that. I congratulate you on trying to pull the hen's teeth. Now let's see if you can make it work. Good luck to everybody in here, because I'm not sure that I think the school board is ever going to be capable of doing this.
Thank you, Cheryl.
No one else has signed up to speak.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to step up and talk about the ball field with us? Welcome.
Well, hi, guys. Doug Minkiewicz.
Welcome, Doug.
I want to say thank you to everybody involved. School board, you guys. This has gone on way too long. So I thank you for your countless hours and all this stuff. Rich, everybody else. I think the room speaks for itself. I keep going back to taxpayers' dollars. Well, I think all the parents here pay taxes. I would much rather spend money on something that is done right than the wasted taxpayers' money that has been wasted on the field that currently is. Remember this too, the school board only has to maintain that field for 5 months. You cannot maintain a grass field for only 5 months. If you're gonna keep doing it, it's gotta be everybody. It's gotta be here, it's gotta be our village, it's gotta be the school board. That's why the idea of turf even came about. It's simple, it's easy, we lay it down, we don't have to worry about it. Hearing complaints from people who haven't stepped on a field or used it in that same period is really kind of comical. I go back to this, I said this at the last meeting, where was all this concern before? Where was this concern when the field was a train wreck? We were wasting taxpayers' money, fighting, everybody involved, trying to fight to make this worthwhile. We mentioned the injuries. I think selfishly, I care about the kids way too much, because I've seen Steve's kid break his collarbone for doing nothing more than running off the field. My son tore his ACL twice on these same exact fields, so I care about the concern of these boys and girls that are going to be using this field, young men and women. Bottom line, taxpayers' money we have wasted far outweighs what's going to cost to make this current project work. And the good news is, for most of the people that are really complaining about this, we'll find something else to complain about in 2 weeks, and we'll never forget. We'll forget and move on about this. So I think this room speaks for itself. The kids in here, I mean, some of us were at the field this morning in the cages at 8:30 this morning working. They give these kids every chance they can to move on in their futures. I've seen what it's done to the last 8 years of our kids that we've had. We've had almost 11 kids go on and continue their education through this community. And I would love nothing more than to be able to show the community a beautiful ballpark, and have everybody here come out and watch this, because when your community backs you, these kids, there's nothing these kids can't achieve. And at the end of the day, it's something that Rich and I and Joe Molinaro, we've fought for. This is going on year 7 about this. We hear all the complaints at the same time. Aren't we supposed to leave what we have to our kids in a better condition than what we found it? And this is the only way it's possible. So again, thank you guys, everybody's involved. Without you guys, none of this is possible, and we appreciate your hard work moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Don't forget, please. Cannot control you people. Okay. Marnie, is there anyone else? No one signed up. Is there anyone else that would like to speak about the ball field before we close? Yes, please, come up, Chris.
Chris Trentine, Islamorada. Same thing, thank you. I've been to numerous meetings, not necessarily about this, but talked about this, and really want to stop wasting everybody's time here. Doug's been here almost as many meetings as I have for different reasons, but Tony, just want to, for you, like, everybody's been through this, spent enough time. It's the best decision for the community, and we just need to, I think, vote on this. And you guys have a lot other things that you need on your plate, and I think this one needs to go past, and let's get this done.
Thank you, Chris. What happened to this? Okay. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay, public comment is closed. Council, what's your pleasure? You wanted to speak after public comment. Vice Mayor, will you please take the lead?
I had a very good conversation with our attorney today for quite some time about this license agreement, and I'm sort of surprised that coming in tonight, some of you guys didn't know what was in this agreement. This has nothing to do with the ball field to me. It has nothing to do with Rich or Tony, how great they are, and these kids have a future. I want the field. My concern is the cost for the Islamorada taxpayers. If you look at maintenance, tab 8, we're still paying for it when we were told we weren't. You look at 10, insurance. To put a new field out there, new fencing, it's going to cause our insurance policy to go up, which is whatever. And then if you look at number 11, there's my word again, elements. We're going to get a hurricane. And whether it's 2 in a row, 1 every 7 years, it doesn't matter. Elements is a hurricane. And when we get one, the taxpayers of Islamorada are going to be responsible for 50% of the cost of a new field. And that's right here in this agreement. So my question to the other 4 people sitting up here, and yes, maybe I was called a nitpicker at the last meeting because I did ask these questions, but it is my job to answer these questions. And if you guys all are okay with putting this financial burden on the taxpayers when there's a hurricane to increase our liability insurance, then I'm okay with it too. But I want to go on record saying that this is going to wallop our taxpayers one day ahead. So this all needs to be considered. I would like to see the school board getting a piece of property. I'd like to see them step up to the plate and pay for the field. I just don't understand why this is off the table and we should be paying for it. So, John, I'm going to put you on the spot again, like I have in the past. Do you think this is a good contract for the village of Islamorada?
There are definitely some things that I have recommended that I would prefer to see in here. They were like the termination for convenience, but those were terms obviously that were negotiated with the school board. Obviously, as your attorney, I would always like for you guys to have as many easy outs as you can have. So. That's like I said, there's some provisions, obviously, you guys are aware of that we recommended, and the negotiation brought this back, though.
Thank you, John. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
Nope.
Nope. Steve, anything?
Well, in that vein, do we want to talk about bringing back the amortization schedule so that we do have some kind of safety net in the end? Still maintain the 20-year amount, but keep an amortization schedule as a backup. I can't really speak to that in terms of legal terms, but is that something that you would recommend, John, or?
If it's going to be a guaranteed 20-year agreement, no, I don't think it's necessary because that was only for an early termination payment. So if there's not an ability to do an early termination, you wouldn't necessarily need to have an amortization schedule. So if, as written, I'm okay not including it. If we were to include back in a termination for convenience, then yes, I would absolutely recommend an amortization schedule.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Do we want to talk, is everybody okay with that then?
I personally don't, I think that once we changed that and got rid of the amortization schedule, because I didn't agree with the way it was originally written anyway, if it's a 20-year lease, if it's a 10-year field, it should have been a 10-year amortization schedule to begin with, in my mind. I saw no reason to extend that out beyond what the projected life of that was, and that's why the minute we talked about getting rid of the amortization schedule. I was quite happy with that, but that's just me. Deb?
Well, that's the way I saw the amortization schedule too, is once we agreed that it was guaranteed 20 years, then we didn't need that.
Yep.
And so I don't have a problem with that at all.
Anything else? No? Okay. Anna? So, my question is, a lot of this is holdover from the last contract. And is that not right?
Yeah, I didn't go through and see what was what, but yeah, there are definitely, we built upon the last agreement.
We started
so
with
there
the
are
last
some
contract that lasted for over 26 years, and we didn't have any major problems that way. Although we were paying a ton of money on our labor and mowing the grass on the 7 months that we had it, and spraying and water and bug and fertilizer and all of that stuff. And the insurance part that's on here and the damage to the destruction of property was a holdover from the last contract. And I don't think I saw any major concerns back then if a fence would have got blown down or a tree would have fell on it. Am I understanding that right?
I'd have to double check, but I believe that's correct, but I'd have to look at the old baseball license
So
agreement
for
to confirm
26 years,
100%.
we basically lived with these same terms, and we survived all of that. And kind of like what Doug said is, where was that concern back then? If we're all of a sudden having this concern now, we do an improvement on our property, or we have somebody come to our property and pay for that improvement. And yes, we all as taxpayers and everybody out there, every time you bought a pair of shoes or you went and bought something else, you paid a half cent on everything that's happening over there. But it didn't come out of your property taxes as far as your ad valorem taxes and whatnot. Those improvements are being done by that half-cent sales tax that probably the majority of y'all, the last time we had an election out there, voted to help the school board and help the school system to approve that half-cent sales tax. So those are different dollars that are coming out of than what you paid in your ad valorem taxes. And I didn't see the concern back then. So I'm not an expert on artificial turf by any means. I've been thrown in the middle of this turf war. And this town has listened to workshop after workshop, and our Park and Recs Committee listened to experts on both sides of everything and came to the conclusion that we should go with turf. And I know that there's a lot of argument about turf being too hot and what's going to happen to that. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm told that the turfs that they have today are turfs that are completely different than turfs that when I grew up, or I watched the Colt 45s or the Houston Astros play on, and they've made a ton of improvements on that. And our community and our committee chose that turf and said that's what we should do. So when nobody can say that we didn't listen, we didn't vet this, it wasn't done out in the open, it was beat to death. And I just think that, again, if we've got an agreement and both parties are not 100% satisfied, I think that we've probably worked out a pretty good agreement. And that's where I'm at. So we're here to make a motion.
If there's no more discussion, I'd like to play ball and make a motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Marty, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney?
Yes.
And Mayor Don Horton.
Absolutely.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, is there any other business we have to take care of? We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, We're now clap. You can clap.